Much like Napoleon's triumphant return to France,
I have come back!
and now I've got a city to build. Medieval cities invoke stirring images of atmospheric winding streets packed with leaning wooden houses, the bustle of busy market squares, timeless churches, all surrounded by imposing stone walls, towers, and gatehouses. Nearly a year ago, I set out to build a city like this, yet so far I have a port and a Norman-style castle, and that's about it. But today, I'm getting started on the city itself. I'm going to bring the heart of the city to life with a sprawling market square. This will be the social focal point of my city, and I'll fill it with stalls, shops, and details to make it feel alive. But first, a city needs plenty of open space, which will require a minor ecological disaster. I started off with a different approach to usual. Because my aim is to build a large city, packed very densely with houses and workshops, I decided to build a series of test houses away from my main build. The idea being that I can use World Edit to copy and paste these into less important locations around the city. This will hopefully save me a little time. From there, I moved straight on to planning my city. I used blocks of wool to set out where I'd build my walls, including 3 gatehouses and a handful of watchtowers. I then marked out a very loose street plan with World Edit's brush tool. I set aside a large open central area in stone to be my marketplace. Building walls is a pain. With World Edit you can copy and paste, as well as fill large areas with blocks very quickly. It's an insanely helpful tool that can save you hours of work and from getting RSI in your clicking finger. Issue is, I wanted my walls to look organic, and they curved to match the landscape. In the end I had to build them all by hand, which took a whole night and more than one beer. I then filled the gaps with my towers and gates. Their style reminds me of the Czech architecture from the Kingdom Come Deliverance games. After the relief of finishing the walls, I could finally start building actual buildings. I took inspiration from a lot of German and French architecture while assembling my market square. The best place to look for inspiration is real life, and many of my buildings are direct copies of existing architecture. When you start looking at real buildings from medieval Europe, you'll soon find that cities must have actually been bright and colourful places. It's a common misconception, often reinforced by film and TV, that these cities were dark, dirty places where everyone except the rich lived in constant squalor and misery. While it's true that medieval sanitation was far from modern standards, except for places like Birmingham, but with disease being so deadly back then, civilians took great care with the disposal of waste, and it was often a landowner's responsibility to maintain a section of street facing his property. Medieval cities were often vibrant, well-organised centres of trade, culture, and craftsmanship. So I decided it was high time to drag my city kicking and screaming back towards my original theme of Northern England. Despite being surrounded by Germanic-style townhouses, I started to plan out an English-style church. I copied this one straight from a church in the centre of Norwich City. For some reason, Norfolk has the most dense concentration of Gothic period churches in the UK, so I just clicked around on Google Earth until I found one that looked good and did my best to rebuild it. After I had finally surrounded my market square, I realised that it all felt a little too empty. I decided that a large central feature would help bring it all together and add to the dense feel of my town. Many English markets have a market hall as a defining feature, and this one I'm building here is based on the one in Shrewsbury built in 1597, which makes it a little bit new to be called medieval, but it looks about right. Market halls were mostly used as a covered extension for vendors and traders, but would also house civic functions such as court sessions and public meetings. After wrapping up my last building, it was finally time to build the market stalls. The Conquest Reforged mod fortunately comes with plenty of detail blocks, including all kinds of foods, tools, and other objects you might find in a market. Even so, I ended up having to reuse the same item quite often to fill this large space. I used tables and beam blocks for the stalls and covered them with layers of wool or canopies. And there we have it. Walls, complete. Town square and marketplace, also complete. Just a huge, open, empty space left to fill now. Other than wishing I'd made the walls half the size, I'm actually somewhat impressed with what I've built. I've never tried building in this really built-up Franco-Germanic style before, and I like it a lot. So, thanks for watching another video where I struggle to talk about what I'm doing for 10 minutes. My last upload was over a year ago, and I could sit and talk about how I spent a bunch of months working on an episode that ended up going nowhere. But to be honest, I'm just kinda lazy. I have a few ideas for content that shouldn't take as long to produce, so maybe see you then.